The air hung heavy, thick with the stench of decay. Acrid smoke stung Anya's nostrils, a constant reminder of the inferno that had consumed their world. The Great Fire, they called it, a cataclysm that had scorched the earth and left its survivors scavenging for scraps. Survival hinged on a single precious resource: animal fat. In this ravaged wasteland, animal fat wasn't just fuel for fire, it was lifeblood. It provided sustenance, the means to cook what little food they found, and most importantly, the only defense against the blistering chill that descended each night. Without it, they were as good as dead. Anya clutched the small pouch at her side, its meager contents representing a week's worth of survival for her and her younger brother Kai. They weren't alone in their struggle. The Zephyr clan offered a different kind of existence, one built on cunning and collaboration. Their leader, a woman named Lyra, was as sharp as a whip, her silver hair a stark contrast to the soot-stained faces of her people. She understood the power of alliances, of leveraging their speed and agility against the brute force of the raiders. Anya had heard whispers of their exploits, tales of daring raids and narrow escapes. They were said to move like phantoms, their presence felt but never truly seen. They were a beacon of hope in a world consumed by darkness, a testament to the enduring spirit of humanity. Anya longed to join their ranks, to offer her own skills as a tracker and hunter. She had spent her life navigating the wilds, learning the secrets of the land from her father, a seasoned hunter himself. But Kai, still young and vulnerable, needed her protection. The Zephyr clan, for all their noble intentions, could offer little shelter to a child. So they continued to scrape by, scavenging for scraps, living on the fringes of this brutal new world. Each day was a test of their resilience, a gamble against the odds. But Anya refused to give up hope. She clung to the belief that somewhere, somehow, a better life awaited them. A life free from the constant threat of hunger and violence. One day, their fragile existence shattered. Anya and Kai were returning from a scavenging run, their pouches lighter than usual, when they stumbled upon a gruesome sight. A group of Crimson Raiders were picking clean the bones of a recent kill. The air reeked of blood and death. Anya's heart hammered against her ribs. She pulled Kai behind a crumbling wall, urging him to stay silent. They were outnumbered, outmatched, and out of options. If they were spotted, they would be as good as dead. The raiders, their faces twisted into grotesque masks of savagery, seemed oblivious to their presence. They laughed and joked amongst themselves, their voices guttural and harsh. Anya's gaze fell on the leader, the brute, his massive frame dwarfing his companions. He held aloft a grisly trophy, a human skull, picked clean and bleached white by the sun. A wave of nausea washed over Anya. These weren't men, they were monsters, driven by a primal hunger for power and domination. She knew in her heart that there could be no reasoning with such creatures. Their only hope lay in escape. But as they made their move, a twig snapped underfoot. The sound, though faint, echoed like a gunshot in the stillness. The raiders froze, their heads snapping up, nostrils flaring as they caught the scent of their prey. Anya felt a cold dread grip her heart. They were discovered. The raiders advanced, their eyes gleaming with predatory hunger. Anya knew this could be their last stand. She pushed Kai behind her, her own body a meager shield against the impending onslaught. Just when all hope seemed lost, a voice cut through the tense silence. "Hold!" A figure emerged from the shadows, his lean frame moving with a grace that belied the harshness of their surroundings. It was Reeve, a scout from the Zephyr clan, his face a mask of grim determination. Anya's heart leaped with a flicker of hope. Had their luck finally turned? Reeve's unexpected appearance gave Anya and Kai the precious seconds they needed to make their escape. With a speed born of desperation, they darted into the labyrinthine alleys of the ruined city, the raiders' enraged shouts echoing behind them. But their pursuers were relentless, their heavy footsteps pounding the pavement, herding them like prey towards a dead end. Just as they were about to be cornered, Reeve reappeared, a whirlwind of motion and fury. He moved with a speed that defied comprehension, his blades flashing in the fading light, each strike precise and deadly. He fought with the ferocity of a cornered animal, his agility and cunning proving more than a match for the brute strength of the raiders. Anya and Kai, momentarily forgetting their own peril, watched in awe as Reeve cut through the raiders' ranks, his movements a blur of motion. He was a whirlwind of death, his blades painting the ground crimson with each fallen foe, but there were simply too many of them. Exhausted but exhilarated, they finally managed to shake off their pursuers. Taking refuge in a crumbling building, they collapsed in a heap, their bodies trembling with adrenaline and fear. As they caught their breath, Anya couldn't shake the feeling that their escape had been too easy, too convenient. Reeve, his face pale but composed, confirmed her suspicions. "There's a traitor among us, Anya," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "Someone who whispers our secrets to the Crimson Raiders." Anya's blood ran cold. Betrayal within their ranks? The thought was almost too much to bear. Trust was a precious commodity in this desolate world, easily broken and even harder to regain. The realization that someone within the Zephyr clan was betraying them to the Raiders sent a chill down Anya's spine. It meant that nowhere, not even within their own ranks, were they truly safe. Reeve, his gaze intense, revealed that the Zephyr clan had suspected treachery for some time. Supplies had vanished, patrols ambushed, their movements anticipated with uncanny accuracy. Each incident pointed towards a leak within their ranks, but the identity of the traitor remained a frustrating mystery. Anya, her mind racing, struggled to comprehend the implications of Reeve's revelation. If the Crimson Raiders knew about their plans in advance, it would make it nearly impossible to strike against them, to secure the animal fat they so desperately needed to survive. They were walking into a trap, their every move anticipated, their every strategy compromised. Despite the looming threat of betrayal, Anya, Kai, and Reeve knew they couldn't afford to remain idle. The Zephyr clan was planning a daring raid on a Crimson Raider stronghold, a desperate gamble to replenish their dwindling supplies of animal fat. The success of the mission hinged on the element of surprise, an element that was now severely compromised. Under the cover of darkness, they set out to join the rest of the Zephyr clan. The air thrummed with a nervous energy, the silence punctuated by the distant howls of mutated creatures and the crackle of dry leaves underfoot. Anya couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a carefully orchestrated trap. Their fears were confirmed as they approached the designated rendezvous point. The silence of the night was shattered by the deafening roar of flames, the air thick with the acrid stench of burning flesh and wood. The Crimson Raiders lying in wait had turned the tables on the Zephyr clan, transforming their planned raid into a gruesome ambush. Panic and confusion reigned as the Zephyr clan, caught completely off guard, scrambled to defend themselves. The Raiders, their faces contorted with savage glee, pressed their attack, their blades flashing in the firelight, cutting down their enemies with ruthless efficiency. Anya, her heart pounding against her ribs, fought her way through the chaos, desperately searching for familiar faces in the inferno. Reeve, his agility and skill put to the ultimate test, fought like a man possessed, his blades a blur of motion as he cut down one raider after another. But he was one man against a sea of enemies. Anya, her own survival instincts kicking in, knew they had to escape the carnage if they were to stand any chance of survival. She grabbed Kai's hand, pulling him along as they navigated the chaotic battlefield, dodging falling debris and the flailing limbs of combatants. The air was thick with the coppery tang of blood and the stench of burning flesh, the ground littered with the bodies of the fallen. It was a scene of utter devastation, a testament to the brutality of their world. As they made their escape, Anya caught a glimpse of something that sent a chill down her spine. The brute, his face contorted in a mask of savage triumph, held aloft a gruesome trophy, Reeve's severed head, its eyes staring vacantly into the night. Anya felt a surge of rage and grief wash over her, threatening to consume her. Reeve, their protector, their friend, was gone, betrayed and murdered by one of their own. The realization hit Anya like a physical blow, stealing her breath and leaving a gaping hole in her chest. She had lost so much already, her parents, her home, her world, and now Reeve. The remnants of the Zephyr clan, those who had managed to survive the massacre, were scattered and broken. The betrayal had cut deep, shattering their unity and leaving them vulnerable. Anya, her grief still raw, knew she couldn't give up. She had to find the traitor, to avenge Reeve's death and ensure the survival of what remained of their clan. Driven by a thirst for justice and a flicker of hope, Anya began her investigation. She meticulously retraced the events leading up to the ambush, searching for any clues that might lead her to the traitor. She interrogated survivors, scrutinized patrol logs, and analyzed the patterns of the attack, desperate for any shred of evidence. Her relentless pursuit of the truth led her to a startling discovery. The traitor wasn't a seasoned warrior or a high-ranking member of the clan, but a seemingly unassuming young recruit named Alara. Alara, driven by fear and a misguided sense of loyalty to her captured family, had been supplying information to the Crimson Raiders in exchange for their safety. Anya, her heart heavy with a mixture of anger and pity, confronted Alara. The young recruit, her face pale and drawn, confessed to her betrayal, her voice barely a whisper. She spoke of her fear, her desperation, her belief that she had no other choice. Anya, though still reeling from the consequences of Alara's actions, saw a flicker of remorse in her eyes. The revelation of Alara's betrayal, while devastating, provided the Zephyr clan with a much-needed opportunity for retribution. Armed with this knowledge, they devised a plan to strike back at the Crimson Raiders, to avenge their fallen comrades and secure their own survival. The raid, executed with precision and fueled by a cold fury, was a resounding success. They managed to reclaim their stolen supplies of animal fat and cripple the raiders' operations, leaving their stronghold a smoldering ruin. The Brute, although surviving the onslaught, was a shell of his former self. His aura of invincibility shattered. The victory, however, came at a heavy cost. Many good people lost their lives. Anya, haunted by the ghosts of the fallen, realized that in this brutal new world, victory was often a relative term. They had survived for now, but the cycle of violence continued. As long as resources remained scarce and the threat of the raiders loomed, their fight was far from over.